Okay, so I am on part 12, chapter 12 maybe, of the New Testament and Its World, part 2, by Michael Bird and N.T. Wright. And in my last video, I talked about how they date the Gospels, that they're a little bit on the more moderate side. Well, since listening to that chapter yesterday, yes, they've reemphasized that point. They date Matthew and Mark, right around 70 before or after. They affirm a lot of later dates. I mean, they're not liberal scholars that put everything in the second, third, or whatever century, but they're definitely more in moderate scholarship. Now, I want to put some thoughts on this. One, I would not say that's a deal breaker for listening to this lecture series, because it's just it's an opinion. It's an informed opinion. It's just one that I happen to disagree with. And for some people, it will give them indigestion. So you have to, be discerning. You have to recognize that there are scholars out there. People have studied what needs to be studied, and they come to different conclusions for different reasons. And it's just part of scholarship. It's part of what scholars do. If everyone just agreed, you'd actually question some of their critical thinking. Now, at the same point, there's a reasonable range of dating, and then it becomes unreasonable, and people are going to disagree on where that line is. But I've really enjoyed this book so far. I am disappointed that they date the gospel so late, and I think chapter 11 or part 11 I just listened to earlier this morning. They talk about how the Gospel of John probably had 3 authors to it. That the vast majority of it is written by one John, and then another John wrote maybe part of the last chapter, and then a third guy named John probably wrote the last 2 verses. Though, if I heard them correctly, which now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, why does everyone that has to edit the Gospel of John have to be named John? I don't know. It seems forced if that's what it was. Even if it were different named people, I struggle, to be honest, with the idea that God's going to inspire a book, but he can't inspire the same author to finish it out. He can, obviously. I mean, God can do what he wants, but it just seems to me more reasonable that if God's going to have someone write 90% of the book, he can have him write the end of it, all things being considered equal. I mean, there is an exception. Deuteronomy, the first 5 books of the Bible are written by Moses, but the end of Deuteronomy, which is the 5th book, talks about Moses' death. So obviously someone else came in and put that in. But besides an exception like that, I just struggle with it. I hope that's fair.